Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Improve Podcast, the official podcast of Classic Studios. I am your host, Chase Collins, and today is a special day because it's Wednesday. It's halfway through the week. Hopefully, you've gotten some of your goals done, or you've made a plan for what your goals are for this week, and you're taking steps toward those goals. I feel incredibly privileged that I get to speak to you on a Wednesday. That's wild to me. I usually talk to you guys Monday morning, and I'm, talking about my goals and what I'm going to get accomplished and what am I going to do for the week, and hopefully you're thinking those same things. But right now it's Wednesday, and we have part 2 of Michael's podcast on here. We get to talk how Green Bean sort of came about. What does his next musical project look like and beyond? So we certainly have another great podcast for you, and I hope you are making progress towards your goals this week. I am going to be giving you an update on my goals next week. No, at the end of this podcast, and I can't wait to share with you all. I have some big announcements. Oh my gosh, and a little bit of a twist. So stay tuned if you want to hear about that. There's some really exciting developments that go on throughout the podcast. So, oh man, I want to tell you right now, but I can't. Maybe I'll give you a teaser. Music. No, this is a music themed podcast. Jingle. Maybe that. Does that give too much away? Does it give just enough? Are you excited? Are you enticed? Who knows? All right, roll the intro music. All right. We're back for part 2. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It is a fine Wednesday. I can't believe it. This might be the only podcast that's released on a Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, my dudes.
My dudes, it is Wednesday. Hello, Craig. Hello,
Can you,
Michael.
dude, insert the guy doing the Wednesday dude thing.
I'll do it right now.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Ah, I can't.
Well, so we left off at the end of Fat Stanley, and that's sort of where, I guess, when you take it away, Michael, where did it go from there for
Yeah,
your musical journey?
the pandemic that killed the greatest band of all time.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah, so Fat Stanley kind of died through COVID. So that was the thing. And if you listen to the first podcast, like I was we're how do I phrase it? We were nose the grindstone of that thing, doing a 40-hour job. All of us had day jobs, and we were doing Fat Stanley, all sorts of music projects on the side. So it was kind of like having two full-time jobs. So the pandemic hit. Suddenly, we're all working remotely. You know, we had that last hurrah at Adventure Stock, and then suddenly I had no music to do. I didn't know what to do. Uh, and it's not like you could even play music live if you wanted to, for the most part, or see music live. Uh, and that's always been a huge part of my life is playing music, and then seeing it live is the other side of that for me. So it was like nothing. And I'm sure everyone had a horrible time during the pandemic, but like I had a pretty rough time. Because I was just working from home. At the point in time, living at my parents' house, like just saving up money, and you know, I kind of have to force myself to be productive and to do cool stuff because naturally I'm very lazy, as I'm sure like most people are, or a lot of people are.
Mm-hmm.
So the pandemic kind of just gave me a free excuse to be like, oh, I'm just gonna play video games all day and not go outside or do anything productive. And it just kind of like enabled all the worst qualities about myself.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
So it was just not a pretty sight. Like, it gained a bunch of weight, which I ended up losing, and that could be a whole nother podcast of my weight loss journey. Uh,
I definitely want that to be a podcast for sure, Michael.
Dude, yeah, I'm down. If it helps anyone else lose weight, but yeah. Anyway, we'll stick to the music for now, I guess.
Yeah.
Because Chase, you're doing a great job at like uh keeping me centered in this because I'm very all over the place.
You're good, man. I think you're doing great.
Thanks, man. Uh, yeah. So I had nothing going on musically for the longest time, and my great friend at Adventure Brewing, he that one of the owners, I've known his sons for since high school. Uh, he kind of saw that maybe in my eyes or something. Like I needed something to do again. So starting in early 2021, he was like, "Hey, do you want to host an open mic night?" Because they're always looking for new things to like bring people into the bar, get people to come out, and like my dumb was like, "Let me check my schedule." But
Yeah, right. Nothing going on.
no, but uh, I did say yes, and I think I delayed that just because I hadn't really like sparsely even picked up a guitar in like 6 months, who knows how long before that. So I was like,
Wow.
give me a month, let me get my chops back up, and then we started after that, and we're still doing that. We do it every other Saturday now. Uh, but I just got the approval. Uh, we're gonna start doing it I'm not sure exactly when, but definitely by January of next year. We're gonna start doing it every single Friday. So that's cool.
Wow. That's
Uh,
awesome.
but anyway, back to where like it started. I had to get my chops back up for it because with any open mic night, when people don't know about it, especially in the beginning, good luck having people show up. So it's just gonna be me playing in front of people for 2 hours, which at the time I wasn't really singing. It was just all instrumental music. But slowly over time, you meet more people, beg more people to come out, and then word spreads. Uh, there's a kind of like an open mic night like niche in Fredericksburg, and they kind of like hop between all of the open mics like in the town. So once we got that crowd coming out, like we've consistently had like a slow night will still be 4 or 5 people coming out to play, which is like blows my mind. And
Wow.
like we've had nights where for the longest time I didn't even have a sign up sheet. We just kind of winged it. And it got to the point where okay, I need a sign up sheet. And we also changed it from 2 hours long to 3 hours.
No
Uh,
way.
like at the peak, like this last summer, we had so many people coming out. It was amazing, and I was just like kind of in disbelief. Like I guess I'm doing something right. 'Cause
Wow.
I'm not a sound guy, and I still fuck that up every once in a while.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
have a vague idea of what I'm doing, but yeah, we have a pretty good crowd going, and it's to the point where they gave me a raise and want me doing it every week. So I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry if I can jump in here real
oh
quick.
yeah, go for it, man.
That's like I don't think we're painting like a graphic enough picture of how like valuable that employee from Adventure Brewing was in like setting this up. Like he saw you were sort of like struggling and just saw something in your eyes of like you need a task. You're here all the time, like you need something to do. And him, sometimes you need a person like that to just say like, "Hey, here you go. You need
Yeah.
direction. Here it is.
Oh
This is."
no, and I've told him that, man. Uh, yeah, one of the owner. And yeah, dude, thanks for making me do this. Like, it's been phenomenal because it snowballed. It got me back into playing music again. Like, I have my life back, my passions back.
Yeah.
So it's been absolutely amazing for me. So like
Yeah.
open mic night kind of like snowballed and started everything I've been up to in the last year, which has been like a lot. Uh, so I guess the next thing I'll talk about is a little band called Radar Theory. Uh, that was a band I was in until very recently, and I'll get to that. Uh, we're playing covers, rock and roll, Led Zeppelin, 90s, anything rock and roll like on the radio, we played it. And those guys actually started, they met each other at my open mic because,
Mm.
yeah, this guy Johnny came out to one of them. Coincidentally, I got my old singer from Fat Stanley to come out too. Johnny saw
Eric.
Eric sing some songs with me. They meet up, start a band with this drummer that Johnny already knew, and so it was the three of them for like a month, and then they obviously needed a bass player, and coincidentally, I had just spent all of my Biden bucks on this like beautiful uh, Fender bass. It's like a precision jazz bass hybrid. So it's got like the Geddy Lee neck up top and like the Stratocaster body. So I love it. It was one of those basses that I've wanted since I was like 14, since I was a kid. Finally got it. And I was like, hey, I'll take an easy excuse to bust this thing out and play it and be in a live band again because I miss that like so much. There's nothing like the thrill of like performing in a band with other people and like just the energy behind it. And like even if you're playing in front of like five of your close friends,
Mhm.
like that's enough for me. Like it's just fun. Uh pure fun. Uh so yeah, that started and we're lost a drummer like probably 6 months into it. But the replacement was Sky Lennon. He's pretty darn cool. He was Brian's drum teacher back when we first started playing forever ago. So for me was like, ooh, it's all coming full circle now.
Wow, that's
Like I
really cool.
was honestly like so cool to because when you're a young musician or a young kid, like you just think the world of anyone over, anyone older than you. They're just like the coolest guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
idol. Yeah.
Oh, you do music?
Dude, you're playing like he was in like LB Brass, which is like a pretty big Fredericksburg band.
Oh.
Well, he's been in all sorts of band like death metal. What so it was like awesome to play with him uh and have him as part of that. So so for a while it was open mic and then radar theory. We had to fit in the schedule with that. And then we're how do I explain this? Um on the side of that, so fast forward to like this year, we have those two things going on for a while, going great. Uh oh, I almost forgot, man. And I know we're sorry. You can
No,
probably
you have time. Don't worry about it.
okay. So going into 2022, which is this year, right?
Yes.
uh Going into 2022, I was asked to perform at a Renaissance festival at Adventure Brewing.
So these are the
And
same guys who you host the open mic for.
yeah, and that would at the very beginning they gave Fat Stanley our start in like once we got out of college. Uh
Right. And Adventure Stock.
and Adventure Stock. Yeah, which is another festival I was planning for like later that year and that I'd done in the past. So it's like yeah, they got wind that me and my buddy have this dungeon synth band, and part of the fun is that we're anonymous because we're playing costumes. But if you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. And if you come out to, we're doing it again this next year. I think sometime in like March or whatever. Don't quote me on that. You can find out which band it is, but I'm sure you probably already know if you're listening to this. Anyway, so that became like a huge project for me. So backstory on the Dungeon Synth band. Uh, we started that. I was actually invited to join the band back in 2013, I want to say. So like it had been like a little side project for a long time. Not that it was super busy, but we made like a little EP back in the day. Then me and my boy Sam, uh when we were seniors in high school, we got snowed in for a week. So we were like super bored playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion 24/7. So we were like, we should make another Dungeon Synth album. So we started the saga, excuse me, of Menstrom Tybalt, which is named after my Oblivion character.
and
Super geeky stuff.
and that's
Uh,
the protagonist of the Dungeon Synth band like concept album. And can you
yeah.
explain what Dungeon Synth is?
So Dungeon Synth for the layman, uh, it pretty much sounds like video game music from the 80s. Uh, and most of it's like instrumental, so like very synthesizer based, but it sounds dungeony, like you're in medieval times kind of thing. Uh,
Mm.
so that's kind of the background on that. But so the genre is primarily instrumental. We wanted to like revolutionize it, so we started this like dungeon synth, I guess like kind of like an opera, where we had this like concept and like a whole story planned out centered around like Menstrom Tybalt and his adventures or whatever. Uh, so at the time, we only did like the first three songs, and then we never went back to it. But oddly enough, when they reached out to Ilvern to play the Renaissance Fair, it wasn't even our first paid gig, which blows my mind. We
That's
played,
so
I
funny.
think we headlined a Fat Stanley show in college.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But they're like, "Hey, do you want to play this Renaissance Fair?" And I was like, "Definitely, yes. How long do you need me to play?" And they said 3 hours. So I said
Oof.
yes. And at the time, we only had like maybe 30 minutes of original music recorded. So I was like, "What am I getting myself into?"
Yeah,
So
so you have a 3-hour set, and how much notice did you have? Like 3, 4 months notice?
yeah. So like, long story short, I pretty much recorded the rest of our concept album. It ended up being like a full like 55 minutes in the
Wow.
span of like 3 months. Uh and probably even half that time, since I procrastinated a lot and I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I gotta do this right. I gotta build my home studio, which I'm currently in right now. It's soundproofed, got some monitors, some cool lighting. Uh, and I was like, okay, now I can start doing this. And I had like maybe a month and a half left. Luckily, I had so many ideas like in the back burner that I could just kind of build off of that. But yeah, that was super fun and fulfilling to when we finally like performed it. I had my buddies up on stage with me in costumes, wearing like night helmets. Uh, it was so much fun, and at the time, it was personally like the highest paid gig I ever had, because I also did sound like the entire day for the festival, just playing like Renaissance themed music.
Right.
So that was a blast, and that was all with open mic night and Radar Theory going on. Uh, so that as soon as that was over, and I was like, okay, I can take a breather. I really couldn't because I was planning this adventure stock festival, uh, and as part I think at the time I already had everyone booked for it, but as a challenge, I booked myself for my first ever like debut solo gig. As my alias is Green Bean. You can check me out on Instagram, Green Bean Music. Anyway, uh, that was my big challenge. Is I have to do sound and organize this big event and perform in it. And initially, I was going to perform in it twice. So it started out with Green Bean. We had a few more bands, and then Radar Theory was supposed to play midday. And that had always been like a goal for me. Like I want to organize a festival that I play in, and I always wanted to play a show where I'm playing both acts or like two different acts. Uh, that was
That's
cool.
so
But it
cool.
was so much.
Yeah,
By
that's
the
sick.
time I finished Ilvern, I had maybe 3 months to prepare Green Bean, and all of my Green Bean songs had snowballed off of the open mics. So I made it a challenge for myself to write a new song for every open mic. So I'm at least playing one thing the audience hadn't heard of. And most of the songs I did like kind of the day of, and then you never hear it again. But
Mm-hmm.
like the songs that stuck, that those have been like the Green Bean Foundation. And then long story, one thing happened after another, and I started forcing myself to sing again. So I'm like singing, doing instrumentals, very folky music, kind of like some progressive rock influences in there. So it's a really cool vibe, and I think pretty unique. But like kind of like John Butler kind of sound,
Mm-hmm.
if you've heard of him. That was super fun.
Well, I
But
think
like,
that I want to expand on that. Like that. So you're, man. I also want to recap. So you're doing like twice monthly open mic nights. You're in a band called Radar Theory that's performing, once a week, twice a week type of things. And then you're also hosting a Renaissance festival, doing sound for a Renaissance festival with 3 hours worth of music. And now you're planning Adventure Stock 2022 while also like honing your skills as like a folk progressive rock musician
oh
as
yeah,
Green Bean. And that's just an enormous amount of work. But in addition to that,
oh,
you're also selling like weekly challenges for yourself. You're saying, "Hey, I have to debut a new song every time I host an open mic as part of this Green Bean, project." And that's really inspiring, and it keeps you, learning, it keeps you progressing, challenging yourself. And then you start introducing singing to that as well, which is, its own instrument. It's a whole, multitasking, a whole nother skill. So that's incredible. That's so busy. And to
thanks,
put
dude.
it in perspective
It was
again, you're
pretty
also working a
chaotic.
40-hour job
Yeah,
every week.
I had a day job. Plus, essentially music was a second full-time job. And I was
Yeah.
doing 3 to 4 different things at one point for all
So
of it.
I think it's safe to say you proved that teacher wrong.
I I freaking proved her wrong, man.
Yeah, that's really impressive, Michael. Like, just hats off to you.
Dude, thank you so much. Like, and dude, it was very hectic. And I guess where I want to kind of want to get with it, I was on like a self-improvement kick, and I just kept adding more and more things. And that's like addictive into itself. It was just like, okay, I mastered all these things because I kind of like could go on an autopilot with the open mic and the radar theory. So like at any one point, like I was juggling a lot of plates, but it was set up to where like I was only being challenged in like one aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then improving on that, and then I'd master that, and then oh, what can I add now? That kind of thing. But after like 6 months, maybe 3 where it was really bad of like every single weekend I was playing at least 1 gig, if not 2. And like with the PA equipment that I had at the time, it was very physically demanding. And I was also doing sound for Radar Theory. And yeah, and like I was just burning myself out uh for a while, like almost every week. And I've learned the hard way, and I want this to be like a warning for anyone that's wanting to be better than they are, like improving, doing as much as they can. Uh, Schedule in the time to rest,
Mm-hmm.
'cause I did not do that at all, and I just burnt myself out like one too many times, and pretty much led to like kind of a mental breakdown. Uh, Mostly because like when one thing started not going so great, then like kind of all of them started falling. Like once one plate gets off balance, everything does when you're juggling that many different things. And
Right,
like
right.
I don't regret it at all, but I kind of had a mental breakdown like in the middle of this like 3 to 4 months of every single weekend doing something on top of working a full-time job. Uh so yeah, that sucked. Big lesson learned there was like shit, I have 2 months of this lifestyle left, and I'm a man of my word. I wasn't going to back out of any of it, and I just kept pushing through it. And my mind went first, and then like my body did. Like my immune system failed,
Oh
and
no.
I like got the flu kind of. But I was like, the party ain't dying, and I ended up playing a show or two like very sick,
Oh no.
and but Radar Theory and all of it, I was like, I needed I realized I needed to realign myself and had to pick one thing to drop. And unfortunately, that was the Radar Theory thing. Uh, just weighed the pros and cons, and like I was doing sound, and like bass isn't my first instrument of choice.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a point where I was like, I might just quit all of it.
Oh yeah.
'Cause I guess I've I can be a little extreme with my mentality sometimes. I'm either all in or not, but I was like, no, that's I've learned my lesson there before. Like that's not the answer. Uh so like I'm still trying to figure that out myself. Uh, and I think I'm pretty close to the solution. Like I kept open mic night cuz uh super fulfilling like meeting all these musicians, and like truly that I think that is the best way if you need to meet musicians to play with, like say to start a band or just be involved in the community. Like find the local mic scene in whatever town you live in, if it has one, or
Or
like
start it.
or start it. And I definitely didn't start it, but I started my own open mic, and like that's been huge for me personally of meeting new musicians.
Yeah.
So that's been great. But yeah, I guess we can bring up this is take 2 of this podcast.
Well, yeah. So we had to do a second take of this podcast.
I'll explain it. So when we initially recorded that, what was I don't even know how long ago that was. Like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months.
It was. I think it was probably the end of September, like right before your Red Rocks escapade.
That's right. So it was literally at the tail end, like not even a week off of like I had just broken up with Radar Theory,
Mm.
and I was just not in a good headspace. Like I was beyond burnt out and just like and I listened back to it and I was like, this is not the way I want to like represent myself, because I was just kind of in a nihilistic mood.
Right.
Uh, so I'm glad we re-recorded it because I think this I sound more intelligent in this one. My I actually
No.
have some brain cells in me right now.
Yeah, right. You're you're able to like look back at that burnout and instead of like
Yeah,
I'm in the middle of burnout.
yeah. No, because when we first recorded it, like, I didn't even have the time to like think back and look at all that I did. I just had to be in the moment and be like, okay, I'm doing this week. Let's prepare for that, and then it would be totally different the next week. Uh, so after 3 months of that, it wore me down. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're on a phase of like realignment for me. It's the winter, so things slow down anyway. Uh, I can recharge my batteries. I just got a new Xbox Series X, so that's cool. Uh,
Heck yeah.
but yeah, I guess to bring it all to like the current day, uh, yeah, we're redoing this podcast. Thank you so much, Chase, for uh, putting up with that curveball.
Of course, man. I want you to be as comfortable as possible.
You had to edit out an absurd amount of curse words from the last one, and I feel really bad about
Ah, dude.
it.
It's all part of the game.
It's all part of the process.
Yeah. But no, man, I think well, yeah, so where we at now with well, hold on. I want to do another quick little recap. So you um after the Renaissance Festival, you were planning Adventure Stock 2022 with and debuting Green Bean Music, and you did Adventure Stock 2022, but that was sort of as everything was sort of what
Yeah,
you told me last time. You were like a lot of things were like those plates you were spinning in the air were starting to fall right as Adventure Stock 2022 was happening, and that was, I think, the big like you know the
yeah, that,
universe screaming at you like, "Hey, it's time to slow down, man. It's time to
yeah, it
slow
really
down."
was.
And
Because like the week before that, like before Adventure Stock, like I was already super burnt out, and like I had a bad week at work, which everyone does, but it was just suboptimal.
mhm,
And then Adventure Stock, that didn't go as planned whatsoever. We had people drop out due to COVID. The band I was playing in had to drop out last minute because of COVID. Another artist had to drop out, unfortunately, due to being sick. So that was two huge curveballs right there. Uh, but I still debuted Green Bean. That was awesome. We still
yeah.
had some amazing talent come out. Shout out to Little Big Man if you're listening. Uh, go follow him on Instagram, Little Big Man. Uh, yeah, it's all kind of a blur still, but uh, oh yeah. So halfway through the day, my good friends, the Phenomenal Conundrum, were playing, and thankfully they're such great, understanding guys because it looked like the evil cloud from Stranger Things was
Mm.
approaching us. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
Like
that's funny.
the massive storm, and I'd make a game time decision of what to do about that. So to save my music equipment, we had to move everything inside.
Oh
Which, like,
man.
if you're not for those uninitiated into that kind of work, is a huge pain in the rear end. Uh, so we moved everything in. Because of that, had to cancel the headliner. Uh,
Uh
and the people performing before them, they ended up being the headliner. Uh, so it was just a huge mess. And like, I'm a perfectionist, so anything not happening as optimally as it could is a loss for me.
yeah.
So that just kind of like broke the camel's back. And but at the time I was still in a huge self-improvement phase, and I just started running in the mornings at 7 a.m. I would run like a mile to like 3 miles. That was my new goal that I was attacking at the time,
That's awesome.
and it was awesome. But like when your body isn't used to that, it gave me the worst ADHD of my life for
Oh.
work, and I just couldn't focus on anything, and like it just felt like all the plates were falling at once, and
Yeah,
it
and
made
that's
me second guess like, what am I doing with my life?
yeah.
what is going on? I don't need to be doing any of this. Uh, and like, of course, my career is my priority because that's how I make a living. I mean, I have a mortgage now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so like, I need to give myself enough energy to where I can still do that really well.
Right.
And for a second there, like that just wasn't where it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Not that it was that bad, but I was like, this isn't what I should be doing. I need to
Right.
readjust. So that's where I am now. Uh, so yeah, just to reiterate as a warning, I felt like uh Icarus, like the Roman myth, the flight of
Mm.
Icarus. I flew too close to the sun and literally burnt out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that,
Uh,
man.
yeah, so like in anything that you're doing and like anyone pursuing, you know, crazy stuff like this, uh planning have more of a plan or like I don't know, not more of a plan. Plan time to relax
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't do that. And it ended up coming back on me. Uh
Yeah, it's definitely a balancing act between like saying yes to every opportunity you get, but
Dude,
then
yeah.
also saying yes to like the time you need for yourself.
Exactly, man. And for a while like it was all very positive and like I wouldn't change anything, and I was just saying yes to everything and trying to
Mm-hmm.
make all of it work. And I'd learned the hard way, like you can't make everything work sometimes. Like I got to look out for myself.
Yeah.
So that's where I am now, and it's like I don't know, still trying to find the balance, and it's not an easy thing to do, because
No.
you don't want to like lose momentum with anything. Uh, But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the winter. Hopefully, some more of this, some podcasts, because this is super beneficial for me. Because during most of this, like, I didn't really talk about the other things going on for, like, say, radar theory or open mic or what have you, because it was all very in the moment with all of it. So this was great for me to like kind of look back and reflect and be like, I really did a lot.
Yeah, you really did, man, and I appreciate you coming on here and telling your story and like also like a big part of this podcast is, constantly improving and I think you've shown that and another aspect of it is the reinforcing the idea that like we're just people, anyone can do this. Like I'm, running this podcast and doing this company stuff and, writing screenplays hopefully to sell one and these are I'm just a guy who's working a 9 to 5. This is what I do in my spare time and you're, working a 9 to 5 playing music in your spare time and you're able to accomplish so much and progress so much as a musician just in your downtime. Like you don't have to dedicate your entire life to become someone with, the skills that you have. And that's, I think, a big part of what you hit on, like at the very, in the first episode that I think is relevant is falling in love with that process. Like this is what you want to be doing in your spare time. And this is what I want to be doing in my spare time. And that's important. Like to keep in mind is like we're just people who love doing this. And if you're someone who doesn't love doing this, like then don't do it. But as
Yeah,
long as you're working on something that's like fulfilling to you and if you don't feel fulfilled, if you're not progressing like professionally or personally, like maybe there's some changes you can make in your life and hopefully you can get inspired by like what we're doing and what my friend group is able to do. So I hope it's inspiring for people.
yeah. If anyone can draw like anything out of this, like hopefully maybe it's inspiration. Like I hate talking about myself, so but I love the excuse to do it. So I appreciate that, Chase. But yeah, man, like anyone can do this. Uh, it's just about having the drive and desire to. And like if you don't, then you don't, and that's fine. But I do recommend like just for anyone listening, like find some sort of hobby, like find something productive to do with your free time and like just develop a skill out of it. Like something that's
Mhm.
fun and interests you, like whether it's making mead or beekeeping, because I did those two. I feel like everyone during the pandemic just took on like a stupid amount of hobbies. Anyway,
Definitely some
yep.
quarantine activities, and also, like, it doesn't even have to be, like, it could be reading, like, pick up reading, like, that's totally valuable.
Anything beyond staring at your phone or a screen
Yeah,
that you get some sort of enjoyment out of, like
and,
do that.
like, what we talked about at the end of the last podcast too, of, like, setting goals for yourself and, making taking actionable steps towards those goals are very
Yeah.
important. But, before, we wrap this up, I do wanna ask, like, so what's next for you? I know you're sort of in this period of realigning. You just broke up with Radar Theory a little bit ago, and now you're still doing Green Bean. You're still doing open mics. Open mic is about to turn into an even bigger part of your life now because you're doing it every Friday,
Oh yeah.
which is
And
huge.
I'm getting my Saturdays back, so it's a win-win.
Yeah, that's awesome. And in the future, I think you mentioned this to me offline, but your Adventure Brewing is doing another Renaissance festival. Is that right?
Dude, yes. That is the plan, 2023. And I think since I already have the album uh all produced and mastered, just kind of waiting for the right time to release it, I think we might make it an album release party.
Woo!
That'd be cool. Woo!
I
But yeah,
love
man,
that, man.
right now, since I'm thinking of it, and very currently, as of like the last week or so, one of the funnest things I've done, uh, I've Chase has been brave enough to ask me to make the music for his podcast.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
knowing me, that could have gone either way.
Yeah, I think I am gonna insert a snippet from our old, um, or from our first take of this because how that came up was just so
Yeah.
funny. So,
Oh yeah, I think that'll be worth keeping it. Yeah.
this is how that came up.
Do do you want me to write a podcast jingle for you?
Oh, I would love it. Yes.
Dude, let's just do that, man.
Oh my god. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Dude, yeah. I could whip that up in like 30 seconds.
Do it. That'd be so sick.
Why don't you just ask, brother?
Okay, dude, I would love it, man. Thank you for
I'll just
offering.
rip off the fucking it'll be a combination of Joe Rogan and like Fox News.
No.
That kind of shit.
No, it's gotta be, like, inspiring. It's gotta be
Oh, God.
like
Dude, what's not inspiring about
Joe
that?
Rogan podcast,
So
check
little
it
good
out.
podcast.
Train by day, Joe Rogan podcast by
Oh,
night, all
dude,
day.
I know what you can do. I know what I'm doing.
Alright, sweet. Whatever you make, I'll use. I promise that. I'm saying that now. So
Dude,
whatever you make, I'll use.
on the first try,
Um, yes, on the first try.
dude,
But don't fuck me over on this, Michael.
I'm gonna you over like
God,
so hard.
God.
Oh
All
shit,
right.
maybe just a little bit.
Well, here it is. I'm gonna put it in post, so people are gonna listen to it right now. All
No,
right.
I'm thinking like some symphony, like I don't know.
Yeah, whatever you want. I don't
Just
know.
use that, man. Just use that.
Just
That
throw
it's
some auto
already
tune,
done. It's already
reverb.
done.
And we're back. All right. So that's now you guys know the backstory of how this came about. So I entrusted Michael of just, hey, whatever you want to do, make the podcast jingle and I'll use it. I promise I'll use it. And I'm happy to say that Michael absolutely killed it. It's seriously
Dude,
phenomenal.
thank you, man.
You all will get to hear that at the end of this podcast. So we're retiring the old intro music and we are bringing in some new fresh blood for the improved podcast.
Hey, and
And
potentially the outro too, right?
oh yeah, it's gonna be the intro, the outro, some special
And the
stuff,
intermission.
and the intermission. Yeah,
Yeah, that brings me to like today.
literally today, and now we just recorded a podcast. And where can people find you, man?
Dude, follow me on Instagram at uh here, let me pull it up so I get it right.
I think it's at Green Bean Music.
So yeah, for Green Bean, it's Green Bean Music, all one word. Uh and if you're interested in the open mics, like definitely come out. Uh Even if you just want to listen to the music, we do stand-up comedy too, poetry, literally anything you want to force people to observe for up to 15 minutes. Uh that one is open mic, but MIKE like my name. So open mic underscore adventures on
Heck yeah, man.
Instagram.
I'll be sure to that'll be linked in the description, so be sure to follow Green
Dude,
Bean
that would
Music and Open Mic Adventures.
thanks,
If you
man.
were inspired by Michael's story, you can do it too. Like, we're just guys. We're just guys doing things, trying to figure it out as we go, and
We're
hopefully,
just cool dudes doing cool stuff. Thank you so much for having me, Chase. Like this has been awesome. Hopefully, uh, people that are listening got something out of it. Uh, and like, dude, very cathartic to just go through my progression up to here. Thank you, man.
of course, man. Thank you. I'm sure people got something out of this because I know I did. Every day I'm inspired by you, Michael, and like
Oh,
learning the
shucks.
details about all the work you've been doing is just truly incredible. So I appreciate it, and I know everyone else will. So hey, here's the music that Michael made for the outro. Check it out. I'm just kidding. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. Just a little prank here at the Improved Podcast. We're having fun. We're keeping it lively. But no, in all seriousness, thank you, Michael, for doing this podcast with me. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And actually, next week, you guys are gonna meet a very special friend of mine who I am working on a short film with. So I'm very excited for you all to hear about that. We're making some great progress. And speaking of progress, I wanted to talk to you about my progress for this week because it has been a struggle these past couple of weeks, and I think a lot of that has been, well, let me rephrase that. It has been a struggle these last couple of weeks because of all of the effort, time, and attention that the Improved Podcast Classic Studios has taken or needs in order for the launch to be a success. And I've officially launched everything, so that's great. And now that time that I was dedicating towards the company and the podcast, I can now reallocate towards my screenwriting, which is what I desperately want to be doing. And I told you how I've been struggling and wrestling with my new screenplay, and I finally had a breakthrough with the story. This past week, I was able to come up and lock down the story, and I finished the outline of this new screenplay, and it's really good. I'm really happy with it. I'm really glad that I took the time. I didn't rush and go into, writing my script as soon as the first idea came to me. I really sat with it, and I tried to make sure I knew every character's motivation. I knew where the story would start, stop, and end. That's kind of redundant, but I feel much more confident going into the writing stage of this script because of the time I took in the pre-writing phase. So I'm just over the moon about that. I really was excited to share that with you all, that I finished the outline, and now I think I'm pretty close. I'm pretty ready to start actually writing the script. My goal for 2022 was to write 2 screenplays, and it's about to be November, and I haven't finished my second screenplay yet, so I only have a couple of months to write this sucker down. So I'm excited to start putting pen to paper and look at that blank page and fill it up with a bunch of words and scene headings and everything like that. So this is just really, really great progress, and I hope as we're about to start, rounding out the year, we're in fourth quarter of 2022 and starting 2023. So I hope that everyone listening to this can stay motivated and see that people like me, Michael, and Brian, and these new guests that you're going to meet next week and the week after that are all working towards something, and you're not alone in this. Where everyone's got something going on, and you can do it. You can do it. That's what I want to leave you with this week, and I'm so happy and proud of this podcast. So thank you all for listening. I will catch you all later. Leave a review if you haven't already. Share this with your friends, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.